Hey, it's Melissa Mortensen. This is video 3 of a 3-video series walking you through the steps to create my all ears pouch. Today we are going to chat briefly about some of the things to do to finish up your bag and some of the things that I like to do at the end when I make all my bags to give them like a nice clean finish. Alright, just a reminder of where we picked up after the last video. Your pouch should have the ears made and the face on, and it should be basted to the interfacing, and you should have your lining cut out with and interfaced. I am going back to this version of the pouch just to show you something, just to make sure it's clear, because with the other pouch, this one, there's not really a front and a back. There's kind of a front and a back. I think it looks better having the zipper there kind of framing out the face and the ears, but it works this way too. So I wanted to show you on this one because this one has a distinct front and a back. So just make sure when you get to this point, and you have time to rip out your stitches if you have sewn it another way, that's why I'm kind of touching on this. Make sure that the front of your pouch is here, and make sure that your ears are sewn to what's going to be the back of the pouch. If you're confused, just fold it up. So see how that becomes the front and the back. So this is the back. If you're doing the cat or the bunny with the contrast, make sure the contrast is facing up. If you're doing the mouse ears, it obviously doesn't matter as much because there's not a contrast. So make sure that your ears are sewn to the back and you maybe have a face on the front or nothing at all before we start our next steps. For the next step, we're going to talk about the zipper. Dun dun dun. Zipper does not have to be scary. Just think of it as something that gets sewn into a seam. Don't worry about the mechanics or the engineering of it. It's just something that gets sewn into a seam. What you're going to do is looks like I need to touch that up a little bit. What I like to do is start with the pouch facing up, and I'm going to take, there's a right and a wrong side to the zipper. I'm going to take the right side of the zipper and I'm going to pin it to the right side of the pouch. When you get to the end of the zipper, you can see that this end here, that's where it lines up. So you're going to take that and you're just going to draw a straight line using some sort of fabric safe pen right there. Now go to your sewing machine and using your zipper foot, just sew this along the top edge. I have the zipper foot on my sewing machine. I have a Bernina Q770. Each zipper foot is going to look different depending on your sewing machine, so just get the one that's specific for your machine. What you want to do is this zipper foot is designed to sit on the zipper and sew close to the edge. So I need to come to my machine and I need to move my needle over 3 to 4 clicks. You kind of just judge it based on where it looks like it's right. Let me get these settings correct first. Okay. You're going to come in here and you're just going to stitch along the edge of this zipper. The zipper sewn, I want to show you guys a little tip. So when you start sewing, if you notice that the zipper pull is getting in the way of your presser foot, instead of starting to sew here, keep this pinned and start sewing here. Sew all the way around so it's secured. Then leaving this still pinned, come in and unzip your zipper, and then you can easily come in and catch that part of the zipper without the pull being in the way. So we've got it like this. Now we actually do need to unzip the zipper. Unzip the zipper all the way. and keeping it flat. Don't, make sure it doesn't get all twisted. Make sure it's flat. So at this point it's perfectly upside down. Take it and starting with where that mark is that you made, pin it right there. Then I like to come around and pin this end next, because I know that's where I want my zipper to start and stop. And if there's any leeway or give or anything with the fabric or anything else like that, it kind of gives you a little bit of ease to work with. Now take it to your machine and sew it the same way you did for the other side. At this point, take a moment and zip up the zipper and make sure it behaves the way it's supposed to. Which it does. It looks like a bunny. This is a good point to fix it if it's not. That's why I always have you double check. Unzip the zipper again. Then, with this piece facing up, take your lining piece and place your lining right sides facing with the zipper and pin it and sew it. Now you may be wondering how I can't see this. How do I know where the zipper is? So all you have to do is turn it over, and you know that this is your zipper stitching line because you just stitched it. So just sew it with this side up and follow the same stitching line that you used previously, and then you know that your zipper will look good on the outside of your pouch. After that, turn it right side out, press it, and top stitch along both sides of the zipper. There's a few things you need to do to finish your pouch. I have top stitched along the edge of the zipper on both sides, and then I have also come in and run a zigzag stitch on both of these two raw openings. For the next steps, I think it's easier if this fabric all stays together than if it's coming apart. For the next steps of the construction process, go ahead and have your zipper about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way zipped. You cannot zip it all the way, otherwise you won't be able to turn the bag right side out. Then after you've got that zipped about that far, go ahead and turn it lining side out. The tail of your zipper will pop on out there. And then you've got your center mark that you made. Go ahead and line up the center of your zipper on the center of that mark. Place a pin, and then go ahead and pin the other two sides. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple pins in them. I have here an 8-inch piece of ribbon, and I have finished the ends of the ribbon. I used a match. Obviously do not do that if you are not comfortable with that. You can also use fray check, but be careful however it is you decide to finish that, but you do need to finish it off. So without moving any of the other pins, I'm going to take this piece, and I've got it folded in half, and I'm just going to feed the raw ends through so that they are laying on top of the zipper. And you can use any ribbon you want. I'm using 1-inch ribbon. I think it looks good with the pouch and it fits proportionally well with the zipper. Then go ahead and place your pins back in and pin that in place. Make sure all your layers are lined up, that is flat, and come to your machine and stitch along this edge using a 1/2-inch seam allowance, making sure that you back stitch both at the end and the beginning. And sometimes I even go and just run 2 stitching lines because this is a tension point in the pouch and you want to make sure it's strong. This side is sewn. You can very clearly there kind of see where the stitching line is. And now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip this and fold this in. Okay, so you've got your center mark here. You've got the edge of the unzipped zipper here. Place a pin, another pin. Make sure everything is like perpendicular and lined up correctly, and then making sure that that is on the center once again. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and move this one over a hair. So I think I didn't get it far enough over. Line that up best you can. I'll go ahead and place a pin on the outside first, and then that makes it easier to secure a pin right there. Okay, so this is laying flat. The zipper teeth are across from each other, and you're just going to do the same thing again. I would go ahead and sew this with this side up because you do not want your sewing machine needle to go over this little metal on accident. So just do it that way so you can see where it is, and go ahead, same thing, sew straight across with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That seam is sewn, and I actually even went ahead and back stitched over the edge of the zipper a couple times just to kind of secure it in place. Briefly go ahead and turn it right side out and make sure everything looks good and there's no big puckers and none of the fabric came out funny and it all looks good. If it does look good, then you can come in at that point and using a sharp pair of scissors, come in and trim the end of that zipper. Don't trim the end of the ribbon because you finished it off, or if you do trim it, you need to go ahead and finish it again. Now, it's up to you how you proceed from this point. This is all zigzagged. You can run another zigzag across it and call it good, or you can finish it with a little bit of bias tape. And I will next go ahead and show you how to do that if that's how you choose to proceed. Let's finish off these raw ends. First of all, I realized I called this bias tape. It's actually not bias tape. Bias is cut on the bias. These are just 2-inch strips of fabric that are a little bit longer than the edge. In preparation, I have come to my iron and folded that under by 1/2 inch. This part is quite straightforward. You are just going to take this piece of fabric and you are going to sew it to the edge, stitching on that existing stitching line. And you're going to leave, I would say, about a thumb's width before you sew. And then don't go ahead and cut this part off yet. This is about a 6-inch piece. So pin it in place, go ahead and stitch it to the edge of the pouch. The fabric has been stitched on. Come to the other side and pull this to the other side. Come over here and push that in. And then pin this in place. For this step, you can use a pin. Honestly, I should have grabbed a binding clip. I feel like it would have been a little easier. On the other side, go ahead and trim off your excess. You can just eyeball it, fold it in, fold it under, make sure that that little edge gets caught, and pin it. And then stitch it right along the edge of the fold. This stitching line can be anywhere other than on the other side of the stitching line that we already used. So if you can see this, there's my stitching line from before. This stitching line is going to come in about 1/8 of an inch, which is just about right. I'll go ahead and sew it and then show it to you. Here you can see this sewn. There's the stitching line. Here's the other side, so you can see what that looks like. As you can tell, I have a couple of thread nests that I need to go in and unpick, so I'll go ahead and do that, make it look really nice. And then you're just going to do the exact same thing to the other side of the pouch. And that is all. Then you can turn your pouch right side out, zip it up, take it to your iron, give it a good press, steam it, get any wrinkles out, make sure your seams are all the way poked out, and you are ready to go.